All right. So we got how Minecraft was made um, by Neo. Uploaded 3 weeks ago. Thought it seemed like an interesting video, at least by the thumbnail and everything. So let's see what we got
On a
here.
normal evening in 2009, a man gets home from work and boots up
Notch.
his computer. His name is Marcus Persson, but he often goes by his screen name, Notch. Based in Stockholm, Sweden, Persson spends his evenings developing passion projects, fun coding
Not gonna lie, they got a pretty good double right there to play Notch with the little fedora on and everything.
exercises that sometimes end up as completed video games, but more typically become abandoned after a short time. But what he doesn't know is that the file he starts today will change the gaming industry forever and will make him one of the wealthiest Swedes in the world. This is the making of Minecraft.
Solid intro. Solid intro.
In the very beginning, the game that Persson was creating wasn't called Minecraft. It was called Ruby Dung, based on the two main elements of the game.
That's a terrible name. That's red shit is what that name is.
The Ruby lands and the dungeons.
It's going to be a fantasy group manager. You don't actually do any quests yourself, but rather assemble, equip and level up heroes, and send them on quests you've gotten from the local town.
Persson created a texture atlas, which is essentially one large image file that contains
Love myself some red. Yeah, dude. Minecraft was definitely a way better name for the game, which I'm pretty sure Ruby Dung wasn't even the name of the game that it launched with before Minecraft. I'm pretty sure it had another name in between there.
lots of smaller textures. Initially, this atlas only contained two textures, grass and cobblestone. Using these elements, he created a digital landscape filled with trees. Next up, Persson wanted to implement a first-person view of the heroes going on their quests. But quickly he realized that it was becoming too pixelated and blurry. Frustrated that he couldn't get all of the features just quite right, Persson scrapped the idea, not realizing that he had just created the first prototype for what would later become Minecraft. One major
and then Infiniminer came out, and that's I'm pretty sure what launches the idea for it.
limitation was that he could only
Yeah, Infiniminer was that other game though that I'm pretty sure you got inspiration from, wasn't it? But I'm pretty sure Minecraft had a different name for his game.
work on his games during the limited free time after his day job. He worked as a programmer at Midas Player, the Swedish game developers that would later go on to create Candy Crush. However, his bosses at Midas Player were unsupportive of Persson's hobby. And once they discovered that he was making his
That was a
own
huge
games
mistake.
in his free time, they felt that there was a competing interest, and they barred him
Could you
from
imagine, or if this company also had Minecraft?
continuing making his own games.
Been huge.
But Persson couldn't be stopped. Rather than comply, he decided to quit his job in order to continue working on his own passion projects. And he found a new job with the software company J-Album, where he befriended the CEO, Carl Manne. J-Album was not a game studio, but a company that made digital photo album software. And Carl Manne not only didn't mind what Persson did in his free time, but instead, he actively encouraged him to continue designing games. At this point, Ruby Dung still sat on the shelf, a scrap project with little more development. That is until April 2009, when Persson came across a new game that would change everything for him. The game was called Infiniminer. Infiniminer is a multiplayer game
Yeah,
where
this game, you can see where he got the inspiration for it. Yeah, Midas is definitely regretting their decision. Yeah, 100%. Because what is it? There's one big company now that owns all those games, isn't it? And they would have essentially been that company. Because I don't think Midas, what he said, Candy Crush, right? They don't still own Candy Crush, do they? It's owned by I can't remember what the company's called. Lucky because often an employer owns your IP, work time or not. Yeah, and especially if he would have developed it on company hours or whatever. That's the huge thing in the TV show Silicon Valley when he uses Hooli's equipment and like on his like work time to help develop, God, what's the name of his company called? But whatever, to help him develop his thing, and like they end up going to court over it and everything. And it's like if he would have been caught like using company time and company equipment to help develop it, it would have been entirely theirs.
Players team up against other
there
players to dig blocks in search of minerals. As blocks are dug up, they can then be used to create structures to impede other teams. Though the objective of the game was to mine up more minerals than your opponents, players quickly abandoned that goal and instead...
Has anybody ever played Infiniminer? So like from what I'm getting, like what he's saying is this was more so like a competitive game of trying to grab like more resources than your opponent, and like I guess was there like a time limit? No, you haven't. Disney is the same way about their art of its IP characters. There is possibly a rumored massive naughty images vault of all the princes. Oh god. Infiniminer stream when? Yeah, right. I don't even know if you could still get it. I wonder if it's on Steam.
Instead realized it was much more fun to just build things.
Yeah,
but despite the game's enormous potential, its development was plagued with difficulties. Zachary Barth, the original creator of Infiniminer, had intended to create a large network of players. But with the game's code constantly being modified and rewritten, the game soon fragmented its user base as the different versions of the game weren't compatible with each other. Frustrated, Barth decided to abandon the project as a whole, and the game's code became open source.
Man, I wonder if that guy is regretting that decision today.
The first time Person tried Infiniminer, he immediately had an epiphany that this was the game he wanted to do, and he had lots of ideas of how he could make it better. He sat back down with the previously abandoned Rubydong and got to work tweaking it into the new vision he had in his head. Reusing his existing textures, Person took a full weekend to rework some of the coding and art style. He called his creation Cave Game, and with just a little more work, it moved from just a test to a working prototype. Now, all he needed were players, and he had a plan for where he could get some early testers. Just a few weeks prior, Person joined an online indie game forum called TIG Source. Here, developers can receive feedback from other developers on games they are creating. Person began discussing with others in the community, who quickly suggested a new name for the project: Minecraft: Order of the Stone.
I wonder what ended up ultimately making him drop the ending tag off the name. You should start a world that starts in the oldest MC version you can play and slowly update it to a modern version. You could probably do that. I think the only problem with doing that is like starting with like the early generation and then continually updating, you'll probably end up with like a bunch of corrupted like sections in the world. I mean, it could make for a really sick map, I guess, at the end, but there might like be corruption issues. I'm not sure how that would work.
For the two actions you could do in the game, mining and crafting, though Person would later drop the subtitle from the name.
Probably a good idea.
He then decided that this forum would be the best place to start getting early players and have some immediate feedback for how he could continue developing the game. And so, on May 17, 2009, he shared the first link that would allow others in the forum to begin playtesting the game.
May 17th, 2009.
In Minecraft. It's an alpha version, so there might be some crashes.
Just 12 minutes after he posted the link, the first person provides feedback.
Oh, hell,
that's crazy, especially back then. I guess he's on like a forum of people that are like doing this kind of thing, but dude, that's kind of crazy. 12 minutes in 2009. I mean, the internet was like fairly established, I guess, in 2009, but like not like what it is today by any means.
Cool. I just dig around in the ground a bit and suddenly I'm in this underground cave. Great sense of exploration already.
Just 3 minutes later, the next reply.
The animations are fantastic. It's generally really derivative at the moment of Infiniminer.
Quickly, more and more people are downloading, providing feedback, and, above all, praise. And though the forum was made for feedback, players couldn't resist posting the things they have made. And since people were showing off screenshots of their creations, more and more people were encouraged to jump in and give it a try themselves. The community also had plenty of feedback for features that could make Minecraft even better, and Person was on it, updating his blog nearly every day with the progress he was making on adding many of the ideas presented.
I plan on having several game modes. Creative, Survival, Team Survival, a Fortress.
Though players were consistently finding the gameplay addicting, in this early stage there was no way to save what they had built. There was also no way to play with friends or to play on maps that others had created. Person would often sit down with the intention to add these commonly requested elements to Minecraft.
Didn't they have like secret like Friday releases or something like that at the beginning? And then Notch ended up deciding to change it because he said like weekend updates were terrible. But please, 2000 internet was loose. 2009 the internet was becoming for moms. Yeah, the internet was definitely like established in 2009. Yeah, Facebook, MySpace, all that stuff. I guess MySpace was probably like on the outs by that point. But it wasn't like, I didn't feel like the internet back then was, to get something to go like viral off of the internet was not super commonplace yet. So he obviously knew like the community that he needed to engage with. But like if you didn't know that, viral is the thing, just not great quality, yeah.
But he would repeatedly get distracted due to the challenges of implementing multiplayer and instead would focus on more fun features.
Okay, multiplayer was boring, but here's water. Should Minecraft have blood?
Boring, but there's water.
No, blood is overused.
Next up was adding multiplayer, which would take quite some time, but Person was determined to get it up and running, though not without some more side projects along the way and more challenges to overcome.
So I didn't do multiplayer code, but I had fun. Multiplayer will be in the form of a downloadable server, which will broadcast its IP to the main server when it starts up. I feel stupid. Server admins could host any data they want on their servers. This means anything, including bad things.
Yep, that's not gonna work.
Multiplayer's starting to go good. I've got player connect, disconnect going, and map streaming on login.
With the release of multiplayer, nearly a month had passed of constant updates, fine-tuning, and debugging since Minecraft was first introduced to the THAC source community. And Person realized that his passion project could be much more than just a game he was making as a hobby. If it was going to continue to grow like this, it was time to put a price tag on it and go commercial. Though today it may seem completely normal that an indie developer sells their game rather than releasing it for free, this wasn't actually the case in the late 2000s. The expected practice, rather, was to release a game as freeware and to make money through the use of ads. Person, however, came up with a different plan. Having seen how valuable the direct feedback from the forum has been, he designed his pricing to reward early adopters. And despite the warning that people wouldn't pay for such a game, sales started coming in almost immediately.
Did any of you guys play like the alpha versions of Minecraft? Or when did you guys actually start playing? Because I think the first time that I would have actually played would have been 2012. So it would have been well into like full release. Did you ever play alpha at all then, Gavin? Or did you end up starting to play later? Actually, I think you haven't been playing that long at all, have you? If I remember right. You started 1.19. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, I thought I remember you saying that you hadn't been playing like super long.
Person even started seeing such a high influx in his income that his PayPal account was frozen due to suspected fraud. It was also enough that he was able to change his status from full-time to part-time at J-Album, allowing him to spend even more time on developing Minecraft. Month after month, Person followed the same process, listening to feedback from those who were playing, implementing more features that were commonly requested, and fixing any bugs that were reported. He also, during this time, met another person on the THAC source forum that could help him with the game's sound design. Daniel
C418.
Rosenfeld is a musician and sound engineer, and he
Honestly think if Notch goes a different route with the music for Minecraft and C418 doesn't come up with like the standard set of Minecraft music that we know now, the game's entirely different. I don't know if it goes the way it did. You think you started playing in 2010? Okay, so you're like one of the earliest ones of us all then, because mine would have been about 2012 the first time, but I didn't actually start playing until like 2019, right before Village and Pillage update, which should have been like shortly before Gavin started playing. What got you into Minecraft then, Gavin? What made you start playing in 1.19?
began to collaborate with Person to provide sound effects for Minecraft, as well as produce the iconic soundtrack that is still used to this day.
That makes sense.
By 2010, sales of Minecraft had grown to the point where Person was able to quit his part-time job with J-Album altogether, and it was clear that as Minecraft continued to expand, Person would need an actual business structure to handle the explosive growth.
It would have been so cool just to be a fly on the wall back during the making of all this stuff and seeing how like all this was actually done.
But since he was uninterested in actually running a business, he decided to call in some help. First was a friend and colleague from
So
Person's
Jens?
old days at Midas Player, Jacob Porser.
No.
Second was yet another colleague, but this time from J-Album, the former CEO, Carl Manet. Together, the three would establish the company that would officially back Minecraft, Mojang.
Stole his old CEO? I didn't know that.
Person was no longer working from home, but had built a small team. The game was still not officially finished, but it already became immensely popular amongst players. And by August of 2010, Minecraft had grown enough to catch the attention of other, much larger game developing companies, such as Valve. Person was invited for a meeting to the headquarters of the gaming giant in Bellevue, Washington, and he accepted the meeting halfway across the world. And while there, Person thought he could also meet some Minecraft fans.
I have all day on August 31st free in Bellevue, if you guys could organize something on the forums. And I figured we could call it Minecraft Con 2010, even if it's just 3 people sitting around in uncomfortable silence
God,
for
that
20
would have
minutes.
been so cool to go
During
to.
the meeting with Valve,
Just to like
the
say you were there, because I'm pretty sure like if they don't show it, it's just like in like a little park, and it's just like a couple people hanging out.
company offered Person a position.
And like during the time, it probably would have been like, you know, cool, because you're meeting Notch, you're like meeting other people in this like unique game that you're playing that's not mainstream like it is now by any means. Looking back on it now, I bet that's like a super cool feeling.
However, he decided to turn the offer down, as his focus was solely on Minecraft. After these negotiations, however, Person joined a small gathering of people that had come around because of his blog post. A little more than 50 people turned up to hang out in a park,
Yep.
a
Okay, I was
meetup
right.
that would go
Oh, I've
down
never seen
as
the Creeper and the Steve before. That's funny.
very first Minecraft Con.
I don't
And
know if I've ever
this
seen these clips.
spontaneous event would give the Mojang team an idea. By the end of 2010, Minecraft had reached over 700,000 sales. And yet, by this point, Minecraft was still technically not a finished game. It was still in its beta.
Wow. So Minecraft's the one that we have to blame for getting all these like games that we pay for in beta for years before the actual game comes out? Is Minecraft the one that started this?
Phase. But Mojang's development team was close
That's kind of like the standard now, it feels like.
to finishing the actual release. With so much hype already built around the game, Mojang knew they needed some fanfare to go
The only difference, I guess, is Mojang actually like committed to finishing their game and like producing an awesome game, whereas most of your developers nowadays don't.
along with the game's launch. And in November 2011, they decided to host an official Minecon.
I want to go to
This
one of these
time,
if they have one
instead
again.
of an impromptu gathering of 50 people, it would be a sold-out organized event with 4,500 attendees. And in quintessential early 2010s fashion, this Minecraft convention had a party DJ'd by deadmau5.
Damn. Was that before he blew up then? Or were they making that kind of money already?
All of this would be leading up to the grand finale of Minecon 2011, the official release of the game. As the Mojang team gathered on stage, Person would stand by a large blocky lever, and with one pull, Minecraft was officially launched as a finished project.
Year I graduated high school.
Even though the game was now finished, the team would continue working on it, releasing updates and adding new features. Even until
I will say I'm honestly like super glad I didn't get into Minecraft like way before I did, because I feel like if I did when I was a kid, I wouldn't have been as like patient, I guess, with the game. YouTube wouldn't have been as developed as it is, so I wouldn't have been able to learn nearly as fast or as much to, I think, keep me interested in it. But I think coming into the game a lot later, it made me like stick around like I do now, because if I would have when I was a kid back then and not fully dove into the game and only played it for a little bit, I would have always kind of looked back at it as this game that I'd played when I was a kid for a little while, and then like don't go back to it because it just feels like a nostalgia game rather than like I picked it up in 2019. I don't even remember why. Like, no idea. I have no idea why I even started playing. It was before COVID, so we weren't in lockdown or anything yet. I think it was free on Game Pass. I was looking for a new game to play, and I downloaded it, and now here we are.
today. But for Person himself, it was the end of a chapter. After 2 years of continuous work on Minecraft, he was ready to move on to other projects in order to get back to what he loved doing most: coding. And so, just 2 weeks after Minecraft's official release, Person decided to step down from his position as lead developer of Minecraft. With Jens Bergensten now at its helm, Minecraft continued to flourish.
Jens!
But Person didn't get the rest
I never understood why the Alex skin was based off of him, and I mean, I get they have like a boy and a girl in this game, and he has like long orange hair.
hoping for. Still perceived as the maker of Minecraft, players continued
thought
to
it was kinda
send
funny.
any issues they encountered to him, and he was flooded by
Don't
complaints.
call my private number for support.
For a long time, he would attempt to ignore the negative feedback that he could do nothing about, until it finally came to a head in 2014.
Is that when he
As the
sold?
popularity of Minecraft continued exploding, an inevitable feature from players began to emerge: pay to win. Mojang has always allowed public servers to be created so that players around the world can play the same map together. However, this opened the door for some to take advantage and create servers where players have to spend money to gain an advantage. These pay-to-win services violated the end-user license agreement of Minecraft, which is why, in a controversial move, Mojang began to crack down on these servers and gave them a deadline to either adapt or to shut down.
Yep, that is exactly why I never joined a Minecraft server for the longest time until Gavin and Uni raided me, I think, one night. And, Uni raided me and Gavin was there. And they ended up convincing me to join their SMP, which I just didn't know anything about SMPs to begin with. The only ones that I'd ever, like, popped into were, like, the big giant ones where you jump in and there's text everywhere and, like, rules. And it felt, like, so overwhelming and not Minecraft. But then, luckily, these guys showed me that you can have an SMP without all that garbage.
Following this statement by Mojang, there was immense negative feedback. And though Person was no longer working on Minecraft, he still received the bulk of the criticism. In frustration, he sent out a tweet on June 17, 2014 that would change the direction.
Yeah, wasn't he just joking that he was going to sell the game? I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to pull up, is that he, like, joked about selling the game, and then I'm pretty sure Microsoft actually, like, responded.
Of Mojang forever.
Anyone want to buy my share of Mojang so I can move on with my life?
You know?
Getting hate for trying to do the right thing is not my gig.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine that feeling. Like, you go from being this, like, small indie developer, you're working with your friends. Your goal is always to, like, obviously build something that becomes successful and, like, does what Minecraft eventually did. But most people, I think, don't have the delusion to start that it's going to happen. And then when something like that does, and you're just an average, normal dude that likes to code games and shit, and now you're, like, dealing with this behemoth of, like, a business that is not just like coding a game and hanging out with your friends anymore. Like, I couldn't imagine what that stress would be like.
The very next day, Mane began fielding calls from companies that wanted to know if Person was serious. including studio giants EA,
I wonder what some of those
Activision,
offers are
and
like.
Microsoft. And after giving it a thought, Person realized he actually was serious about selling Mojang so that he could finally distance himself completely. And after several rounds of negotiations, a deal was struck.
Yeah, I wonder if it was one of those things where it was like a joke, but it wasn't in the back of his head. And he just threw it out there and was like, we'll see what happens. And he probably got offers that he wasn't expecting to where it became kind of like a no-brainer.
Mojang has confirmed it's being sold to Microsoft for $2.5 billion.
Insane.
The deal with Microsoft meant that the Mojang founders, Person, Mane, and Porser, would step away completely, whereas all of their employees would be barred from layoffs.
That was probably the biggest thing that Microsoft did with this, was not getting rid of Jens and the entire team that had been working on the game previously. Allowing Mojang to stay Mojang and be like their own separate entity under Microsoft was like an insanely good idea. I think if they would have tried to like just sweep it all together in like this gaming division of Microsoft, it would have been horrible.
The Microsoft deal was worth a staggering $2.5 billion. And as the major shareholder of Mojang, Person had become a billionaire overnight.
That would be an insanely weird feeling as well.
This is the part of the script that should have been the easiest to write. After all, it's a classic happy ending. Person had achieved the unthinkable. He turned his passion project started at home into an empire, becoming wealthier than he ever imagined. In the following years, Person would continue developing games, and he would do what billionaires do, moving to Los Angeles and buying the most expensive mansion ever built in Beverly Hills,
$70
hosting
million,
extravagant
Jesus.
parties. Meanwhile, Minecraft continues to thrive. With over 300 million sales, it is to this day the most sold video game ever made.
For good reason.
But yet, this is the part of the script for this video that was by far the hardest to write.
Is this all about
In 2017,
notches?
a series of racist and homophobic tweets led to Microsoft distancing itself from Person. They scrubbed his name from the game and did not invite him to the 10th anniversary.
Yeah, so that was the ditty when I messaged you in your chat the other day when you were streaming and said SWM forever. That's one of the splash texts that comes up on the Microsoft or Minecraft homepage when you launch the game. And SWM, I didn't know what it meant, so I looked it up, and it's single white male forever. And I guess it was like a joke that Notch did towards like an ex-girlfriend that he had broken up with, or that had broken up with him or something. And I figured, like, when I read that, I was like, damn, I'm surprised they didn't scrub that from when they did this whole scrubbing of Notch from like the game.
Celebration of Minecraft. Person's tweets were bad. Really bad. And they have significantly impacted his legacy in recent years.
Yeah, which makes me kind of wonder how his new game's gonna go.
For me, the hard part about writing this section is figuring out how to talk about someone's harmful comments without making things worse. In situations like this, it often feels like there are two paths someone can take. The easy path is the one where they double down on their harmful views, find a crowd that supports them. But then there is the hard path, acknowledging the mistakes, learning from them, and making an effort to change.
Parkour!
And the easier we make it for people to take this second path, the more might take it. Marcus Person's story is undeniably inspiring. There are few stories that highlight as well as this how powerful a good idea is, and how much creativity can flourish within constraints as his. And more than anything, he has created a world that I've always experienced as incredibly inclusive.
B-dubs!
When is Minecraft the most fun? Is it when you open a new world, starting to build something new from scratch? Or is it when you've built an empire, and when you have an abundance of everything there is? Marcus Person is now in that second stage of life.
Endgame. What's your guys' favorite part, beginning or end? You like the beginning stages of Minecraft, or did you rather skip to having all your tools and just building?
When I first started this channel, I never could have imagined it would lead to making videos like this. I got to hire an actor, build out a set, and even rent a soundstage in order to make this story come to life.
Yeah, it's a great video.
And over the course of the last years, I have produced my most ambitious productions yet. My video series called Underexposure. Each episode a unique, gripping story that I believe deserves to be highlighted.
We'll have to check some of those out, maybe.
The series name, Underexposure, is intentional. An underexposed image is a photograph that captures too few details in the shadows. But in my series, we will bring these shadowy aspects to life. To find out what really happened on the top floor of the Bin Laden compound. Why Flight MH17 crashed over eastern Ukraine. Or look at the remarkable story of how two families escaped a dictatorship using only a self-made hot air balloon.
Hot air balloons are so cool,
This
dude.
entire series is available exclusively on Nebula, which is a creator-owned streaming service where the likes of Johnny Harris, Wendover Productions, or Real Life Lore post their videos early, ad-free, and create higher-budget originals, such as my original series.
Nice.
So go to nebula.tv/neo and make
Honestly, didn't realize that this was an ad playing here at the end. That's kind of crazy because this has been an insanely good video. The narration, production, everything. And there was 0 ads to the whole video. I mean, granted, this is a self-plug, so it's like, it's not really an ad. Like, he's just promoting his own stuff. Super cool. Nothing wrong with it by any means. But that's just crazy that like a video of this production didn't have like an ad in the first 3 minutes of it. So big
sure
shouts
that
to
you use
him.
exactly this link in
awesome.
order to get 40% off the annual plan. All my exclusive videos are up there, so thanks for the support, and thank you so much for watching this video.
Yeah, great video, dude. I'll definitely give him a sub. We'll drop this in chat if you guys want to check out his channel as well and maybe check out some of those other videos. But yeah, that was a great video. I think he went over everything super well. Didn't have to go into like the nitty-gritty of like the bad stuff of Notch and everything. I think he summed that up all fairly well and didn't have to like make that the center of the video, more about like the creation of the game, like the title and everything said. Good video. Definitely good video. Not a whole lot that I hadn't really previously known, but it was still cool seeing some of that stuff.